And nighttime. In its infancy, drag racing built its reputation for speed and showmanship under the lights. H, heroes. For decades, the bravest racers in the world have attempted to conquer the quarter mile. R, records. Quicksilver times and stratospheric speeds are standard issue at every NHRA event. A, applause. 23 times per year, capacity crowds roar their approval for the exploits of the best in the business. Mix these ingredients in the heart of America, and you get the record-setting superstars of NHRA drag racing, lighting up the night at Gateway International Raceway and the Sears Craftsman Nationals.
St. Louis nighttime, this is awesome.
The midpoint of the $40 million 1999 NHRA Championship drag racing season is at hand. And at Gateway International Raceway, just across the Mississippi from downtown St. Louis, all is in readiness now for championship eliminations in the Sears Craftsman Nationals. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Gary Gerald. Great to have you with us once again for ABC's continuing coverage of NHRA Championship competition. And we have a very special treat in store in this show. For one of the rare times in NHRA history, the eliminations tonight are being conducted under the lights. And what does that mean? Well, it means quite simply that the amazing nitromethane burning funny cars and top fuel cars that generate thousands of horsepower are going to be literally turning into fire-breathing monsters in front of us tonight as darkness envelops this facility. Now, already we've seen all elapsed times and top speed records absolutely shattered, not only in top fuel and funny car, but in pro stock, where we'll be crowning a champion as well. And as Bill Stevens joins us tonight, I can't help but wonder, Bill, normally the crew chiefs, the drivers, have to contend with a hot, slick racetrack, daytime conditions, middle of the summer. Tonight now, in darkness, everything's turned around, and the track conditions change literally by the hour.
Any crew chief will tell you, Gary, that changing conditions send them to the funny farm because it dramatically affects the way that the cars perform. Now, usually start at about 11 o'clock in the morning, go through early afternoon, and then finish up just before sunset. It's all upside down here. We're starting late afternoon, going through the evening, and may not finish up until around midnight. Also, we had a shower today that washed off a lot of the rubber on the racetrack. And the teams depend on that rubber to get a grip for their race car. One funny car crew chief told me earlier today, the team that wins may be the luckiest guessers.
We are about to find out. Now, first round eliminations have been completed. One of the big stories in top fuel pertains to the man known as the King of Speed, Kenny Bernstein. With that story, let's check in with the third member of our broadcast crew, two-time NHRA champion, Frank Hawley.
I can speak from personal experience to tell you that driving a top fuel dragster is physically demanding. They leave at 5 Gs and they stop at -6 when the chute's open. That could be hard on you when you're in good shape. But Kenny, you're driving in a little pain this weekend. What's your problem?
Yes, I am, Frank, obviously. I've got a tendon tore in my bicep and my right arm that uses the brake. Hurts pretty good when I put it in a certain position. Did it a couple of weeks ago in Columbus, but we're going to crawl in there and do the best we can.
So Bernstein plays with pain, and as we look into the cockpit, you can see where crew chief Lee Beard has actually modified the brake handle so that Bernstein, instead of pulling on it, now pushes on it to get the desired impact. Nonetheless, a lot of pain and a very tough duty for Bernstein, who in the first round had a crucial race with points implications as he took on the most recent winner in top fuel, Doug Herbert. And for Bernstein, it was worth the effort. 307 miles per hour on a 466 run to advance to the second round.
He was in second ahead of us in third. That's what you have to do is take him out. Great team over there with Doug. But the Budweiser King, Prolong, Mac Tools, we're tickled right here in St. Louis. Got August Busch IV sitting in our car. We need to win one for this one, believe me.
Got 3 more rounds in that shoulder?
Well, I don't know, man. It's hurting, but we'll get there. We'll just keep him some Advil or something, I guess.
He's gritty.
Well, another first-round matchup that had implications on the Winston point standings for '99 featured points leader Mike Dunn, who has led since the start of the season in a first-round matchup with Larry Dixon. And for the second time in as many races, Dunn found himself knocked out in the opening round. Obviously, he wasn't happy.
I'll get too many gray hairs doing this. Obviously, 2 first rounds really going to hurt us in the Winston points, but it's still a long season. I mean, we're a lot better off than we were this time last year. Still got a good car. We struggled in qualifying. Got it back together for first round. Just wasn't quite enough against Larry and that Miller car, but this team will probably be back. I'll guarantee it.
It still hurts.
It figures to be a dogfight the second half of the season. Now in the funny car ranks, a former Top Fuel driver, Tommy Johnson Jr., was the #1 qualifier. Only his second ride for the Joe Gibbs team. He's in the green car on the near side of the screen. And Johnson, with a startling 497, just over 301 miles per hour, has an impressive first round victory. Now, funny cars, as we know, are tough to tame. Look what almost happened in round 1. Dean Scusa near side. Dale Creasy on the other side across the midline. Nearly had contact. Scusa goes on to the victory. Creasy, of course, disqualified for crossing the center stripe. Well, that was just some of the action from the opening round about an hour and a half ago. And now as night descends, the rain clouds are fading away. NHRA's faithful fans soon to be rewarded with round 2 of Top Fuel competition. As the cars roll through the staging lanes to the track, we go back now to our studios in New York.
Kenny Bernstein is Budweiser King Top Fuel Dragster. Who says you need wings to fly?
Presenting 8-time Funny Car champion John Force to test the Fram Extra Guard filter with its new short grip top.
It's easy to hold on to. See, I still got it. They ain't kidding about that rough textured grip. Couldn't drop it if I wanted to.
Oh, baby! The new Fram Extra Guard with short grip.
It sure makes changing your oil filter a lot easier.
The NHRA Sears Craftsman Nationals on ABC Sports. Brought to you by Craftsman, a line of 1,800 hand tools made in America, guaranteed forever, only at Sears. Brew Refresh Budweiser, the official beer of the National Hot Rod Association. This Bud's for you. The motor oil that provides maximum protection. Castrol GTX, drive hard. And Fram Extra Guard, the only filter with a rough textured short grip top. It makes changing your filter a lot easier.
Well, despite all the rain and a 3-hour delay, we still got a packed grandstand for tonight's competition at Gateway International. And this crowd is excited about seeing the top fuelers under the lights. Second round action, this man, Dave Grubnick, ready to go up against Corey McClenathan. Now, as far as the qualifying round was concerned, this was the way they stacked up. Gary Scelzi setting the pace down through Steve Smith in the 16th and final spot. Top Fuel points coming into Gateway. Well, we mentioned that Mike Dunn had been the leader. He and Doug Herbert both have already been ousted. That opens the door for Bernstein, Dixon, Schumacher, and company. While the spectacular burnouts are all about smoke, the actual run, of course, is filled with fire. Earlier, Frank Hawley explained why.
One of the neat things to watch at night in a drag race is the fire leaping out the pipes of a Top Fuel dragster or fuel funny car. But if you look carefully, you'll notice that during a burnout, there are no flames. And here's why. First, let's look at why there is fire during a run. These engines make a tremendous amount of combustion temperature. And although they have a lot of fuel going through the engine, some of the fuel droplets don't completely burn. And as they exit the exhaust system and hit the atmosphere, that superheated exhaust reignites those fuel droplets, and you see fire. But on a burnout, it's entirely different. They use very little throttle position. The engine really isn't working very hard because it's spinning the tires. You don't have much temperature in the combustion chamber, and the droplets of fuel that come out are probably a little larger and exit into the atmosphere, but in a much cooler exhaust system. So therefore, you won't see the fire from the burnout. So the old adage that where there's smoke, there's fire is not true on a burnout.
Well, those little droplets of fuel that ignite make for one very spectacular nighttime show. We're watching Corey McClenathan back into position now. Let's check out the ladder for Top Fuel into the second round. Scelzi, Bob Vandergrift, Clenathan and Grubnick have all advanced now into the second round. On the opposite side of the ladder, we find the veterans Joe Amato and Kenny Bernstein in the next pair, and Larry Dixon along with Tony Schumacher.
David Grubnick, a racer from down under, comes from Australia, but runs a very limited schedule, does not go to every event. And that is Rick Castle. He and Jim Brissett have teamed up to become the tuning pair on the MBNA Top Fuel Dragster after Mike Green was released a couple of races ago.
Oh, a loss of traction for Grubnick. And Corey Mack at 462, 313 miles per hour, has advanced to the second round. That's the best he's done in the last 4 events. Joe Amato, meanwhile, getting ready to go up against his longtime buddy Kenny Bernstein. 2 former Top Fuel champions upcoming. But right now, let's check on Corey Mack with Bill.
462 and not a perfect run. That was a beauty.
Really, that's fantastic. I had to pedal it out there. Track's pretty good, and we pumped up the motor a little bit. Rick Castle and Jim Brissett and the guys doing a good job. I just get it from A to B.
And he goes to the semis.
And also hoping to advance to the semifinal round, Kenny Bernstein, who is enjoying a relationship that began 20 years ago thanks to the far-sighted vision of one of the Anheuser-Busch executives.
And he could see down the line that this thing could be really good for Budweiser, that this was a place where they were going to need to be, which was motorsports. And the reason being was, like he told me, and I'll quote him, he says, I can't put my name, Budweiser, on football players, baseball players, or basketball players, but I can put them all over the race car and all over you. And he said that's important to us. And he was smart enough to see that even back in 1979.
Kenny Bernstein, a man on a mission, would love to win another Top Fuel championship. Won it in '96, and Joe Amato has won 5 Top Fuel championships. Nobody in the category has won that many. We're on board with Kenny Bernstein right now as he begins to make his final staging preparations. Critical matchup here for Kenny Bernstein, who got by Doug Herbert in round number 1, but got to get past Amato if he wants to tighten up this Top Fuel chase a little more.
Bernstein does just that. He advances to the semifinal round with a 4:58, 316.3 miles per hour. Let's go on board now and ride amidst the flames with the King of Speed. Just that quickly, it's over, and Bernstein has advanced. And the followers of Kenny Bernstein enjoying his action here in his sponsor's hometown on their feet, anticipating the next pair, the Miller Lite, Don Prudhomme-owned Top Fuel dragster driven by young Larry Dixon, going up against Tony Schumacher, who has been nothing short of sensational this year. Remember now, he had a speed at Phoenix early in the season of just over 330 miles per hour.
Top end of the racetrack, you got to look at how much work getting Kenny Bernstein out of that Top Fuel dragster with that bum shoulder. I mean, it's hard enough to get in and out of those cars when you're completely healthy. For Kenny Bernstein, it is an exercise in pain. You know, Gary, you mentioned that the fastest car on the planet is the Top Fuel dragster, the Excite car of Tony Schumacher. Larry Dixon is driving the quickest Top Fuel dragster in the entire known universe. In Houston earlier this year, he went 4:48. And that is your national record in Top Fuel in the NHRA. Gary Selby's gone 4:49, and that's as close as anybody has gone. There's Schumacher in the Excite car. Went to the final round in Houston earlier this year when Doug Herbert bagged his first win of the season. So Tony wants to get himself a 1999 trophy.
Golden opportunity for both men here, keeping in mind that whoever wins this picks up 20 points and can gain 20 on ousted season points leader Mike Dunn.
Dixon in 4th in the points, Schumacher in 5th, less than a round away.
Oh, what a great drag race in Top Fuel. Schumacher advances virtually identical times and speeds, 4:57, 323 miles per hour. This one was almost too close to call at any point down the quarter-mile strip, and it was only in the final feet coming to the line that Schumacher nosed ahead and got the victory.
Man, 4:57. Did you know you won?
Oh, yeah. That thing was trucking at the end, man. I got done, and I didn't know what it ran. I heard the mile an hour, and I said, man, it just keeps getting better. We knew we'd pick up a little bit, but these guys have been running so good. Good race.
Good race indeed, the best we've seen thus far, and Schumacher now advances to the semifinals. Gary Scelzi, two-time NHRA Top Fuel defending season champion, getting ready now for a bid against Bob Vandegrift Jr. Vandegrift in the Jersey's Top Fuel dragster knocked Doug Coletta out in the opening round.
Boy, I'll tell you, Gary Scelzi has had enough of Bob Vandegrift the last couple of years. This year and last year, opening race in Pomona, Vandegrift beat Scelzi in round number 1. Just for good measure, Vandegrift did it a second time this season back in Gainesville. He took out the Team Winston car in round number 1. So Scelzi owes it.
And Vandegrift with a lot of confidence because he made it to the finals in the most recent event. But problems this time for Vandegrift. He won't advance on this day. And Scelzi with an engine going away at the end of the run. It wasn't pretty, but he advances with a 463, well under 300 miles per hour. Scelzi has lost lane choice now to McLenathan in one semifinal pairing. The other features Schumacher against Bernstein, and Schumacher will get the lane choice. We've got funny car action from Gateway coming up right after we take this break. Back at Gateway International, a lot of activity in the Tony Schumacher Top Fuel pits as he gets ready for a semifinal matchup upcoming against Kenny Bernstein. But right now, we're turning our attention to the funny cars. And look at the points lead defending champion John Force has once again. This is the way the field qualified with Tommy Johnson Jr. putting up a beautiful 489 to lead the way on down through the 16 qualifiers. Burnout time, Tony Pedregon. And on the opposite side of the track, Dean Scusa. And for Scusa, who is recognized as the king of the funny car burnouts, that one was unusually short.
Here's the way they stack up here as we head into round number 2 of funny car. Tommy Johnson will be racing Scotty Cannon. There's Dean Scusa and Tony Pedregon about to do their thing. Other side, it'll be John Force and his old friend Whit Bazemore. No love lost between those two. And Jim Epler and Phil Burkhardt, the winner from Columbus, will be squaring off. I'll tell you, Tony Pedregon, when he first joined the John Force team, that particular car right there was more a research and development vehicle until this year when John Force and John Medlin, the tuner on Tony Pedregon's car, decided that would be a real fighting machine in its own right. And already this year it's gone to 2 victory circles. Dean Scusa, in the meantime, still looking for his first victory of 1999. He went to a final round this year against Tony Pedregon. That was back in Dallas. This is one guy who you cannot count out. One car that can really put some numbers together when you least expect it.
Scusa, of course, had that very close call in the opening round when his opponent got across the center line. Let's see what unfolds here in round 2. Oh, solid performance by Tony Pedregon, and something for Tommy Johnson Jr., the number 1 qualifier, to think about, with a 491 thrown into action by Pedregon. Pedregon with a slight reaction time advantage, and then steadily pulling away. He moves on now to the semifinals in funny car competition with a solid victory. That sets up our next pair. Tommy Johnson Jr. will be going against Scotty Cannon.
Scotty Cannon, his first season in funny car after 6 Pro Mod titles. He's got the mohawk haircut. He's got the shoot from the hip speaking style, but only 2-round wins so far this year. And there's Tommy Johnson Jr., number 1 qualifier, racing a guy that has certainly been getting his share of ink this season.
Earlier, Bill had an opportunity to talk to Tommy about the difference between driving a nitro funny car against a Top Fuel machine.
The dragster, you kind of just follow its lead. Where the funny car, you aim it and put it where you want it. You know, you have to kind of manhandle it. So that was a little bit. It was more than I was expecting. More manhandling than I was expecting.
Tommy Johnson Jr. said he wanted to be somewhat conservative in the opening round as he knocked Norm Wilding out of the competition. He ran a 497. I don't know if that's how conservative that is, but we'll see what's in store here now in this second round matchup as he prepares to face the yellow car of Cannon. Both Pontiac Firebirds for 1999.
Both of these guys, first-time funny car competitors in 1999, but boy, with different backgrounds for each of them. Get a load of this, Gary. Tommy Johnson Jr. has made 14 passes so far in a nitro funny car, and on every pass where he's kept his foot in it, he's gone no slower than a 508.
That certainly doesn't bode well for Scotty Cannon if Scotty's aware of that fact. Of course, that's the last thing he's thinking about right now. Oh, and loss of traction for Cannon. Let's see what the numbers are for Johnson as he easily advances. And again, under 5 seconds of 493, just over 301 miles per hour. Nighttime action at Gateway International. That time there was smoke and fire. That was not what Scotty Cannon wanted. And as a consequence, his night is over. Tommy Johnson Jr. for the Joe Gibbs Racing Team has advanced to the semifinal round in funny car competition. Now we want to remind you that coming up next on ABC Sports, continued coverage from the 5th Summer X Games out of San Francisco. The very best in extreme sports, competing in various categories. Coming up next, we've got big air snowboarding, inline skating for women, and of course later tonight on ESPN2, continued coverage from San Francisco and the X Games. Now on the track, John Force concluding his burnout. And the same for his rival Whit Bazemore and the Kendall Colors alongside. Now earlier we saw Tony Pendragon, teammate to Force, oust Dean Scusa. We talked with Force about expanding his racing stable.
Ford wants me to have multiple teams, that I just overlook them to make sure in time I might take a team that's existing right now and put them and their sponsor into a Ford in the future, not to race against Castrol. We're 2 years left in the Castrol contract, but we're talking about a number of different teams because I want to invest in my future, and 1 or 2 cars isn't enough for me to motivate me. I want to keep working, keep going. So each of those teams will be different.
Amazing motivational skills for John Force at age 50, already an 8-time champion. Austin Coyle directing him into position as he challenges Whit Bazemore. Another routine ride. Routine satisfaction for the Force crew. Just over 5 seconds and with a speed of 306 miles per hour. On the replay, you can see immediate problems right off the line. The lurch, then the smoke, and then no go for Whit Bazemore. And John Force, one more time, has advanced through another round in the funny car ranks. Let's go to the end of the track and Bill.
Tony Pendragon went a little quicker that round, and Champ, you tailed off a little bit. What's the deal?
Well, what'd she run?
5:07.
Good old St. Louis nighttime racing. She went out about 150 feet and rattled my brains. Had to step off the gas. I didn't know where Bays was. She just came back around and trucked on down through there. Must have run some kind of mile an hour.
3:06.
Well, okay, anytime you pedal it, but hell, anytime you can win, that's all that matters. It's St. Louis nighttime. This is awesome.
John Force at his eloquent best. And some Phil Burkhart, Nitrofish funny car fans in the stands. The man who stunned everyone with a victory, the first of his career, in the most recent event at National Trail Raceway in Columbus. About to go up against Jim Epler.
Epler, of course, the first man to go 300 miles an hour in a funny car. And just to show you how there are so many currents cross-ripping through the sport that meet and conjoin all the time, last year, Phil Burkhart drove a car driven by Rex Nix. That car, the very same car that Jim Epler drove to that history-making pass back in Topeka in 1993 to go 300 miles an hour.
Well, and Epler has got another great run going. You talk about 300-mile-per-hour runs. How about 3:07 on this pass as Burkhart had immediate problems off the line. So in the funny car Final Four, Force against Epler. Force has lane choice. The other semifinal has Tony Pendragon with lane choice going against Tommy Johnson Jr. Crowd looking forward to pro stock action. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Back at Gateway International Raceway, we get ready now for our first look at the Pro Stock competition. Warren Johnson, Kurt Johnson, 1 and 2 in points, both ousted in the first round. And as you check out the ladder, you can see that Tom Martino, 16th seeded, took care of Kurt in the opening round. Martino now in the semifinals against Alan Johnson. On the opposite side, Warren Johnson, who qualified only 11th, his worst of the year, beaten by Jeggy Kaufman in the first round. But it's Jim Yates going against Greg Anderson in the other semifinal pair.
Warren Johnson had this man making his tuning calls with him for 11 years, Greg Anderson, and now he has really developed in a pretty good driver in his own right. Has not won a national event yet. In fact, he's looking to go to his first career semifinal round. And Jim Yates, a two-time Winston champion, in a rebuilding process. A couple of years ago, split up with Dick Maskin, who was building all of his motors. Now Bob Ingalls does that within the shop, and they're coming back slowly but surely, becoming contenders again.
Jim Yates by the closest of margins, and isn't that the way it always is in Pro Stock? A 7:02 puts him in the finals. And Yates, oh, it's been a long time since he's had an opportunity to win in Pro Stock competition. This was a tremendous battle all the way down the quarter mile. The high straight-on look, defying you to see who has the advantage until they got right to the line, where it was Yates by a foot.
Prime time, Jim Yates going to a final. Remember how to do this?
Oh man, I tell you, I just think this is the greatest thing happening. We've been out here running so hard this weekend. Everybody's been working hard. We got Jerry Bickle helping us on the car, and got the old team back together, having a great time.
This has been a long time in coming for this guy.
And well-deserved for Jim Yates. Let's go to the Top Fuel pits and Frank.
I'm standing with Tony Schumacher, who is the fastest man on the planet Earth in a Top Fuel dragster, over 330 miles an hour. You got the track record here. Things are working great for you. How do you feel getting ready for the next round?
I feel fantastic. You look back at that round, I mean, Dixon was on the ball. If I had a 4:52 reaction, I was going home. It was that tight, and, you know, neither one of us saw each other. So we're up against Bernstein with their second fastest run of that round. And it's going to be tough, but we always like running great cars.
Meanwhile, at the line, Tom Martino and Alan Johnson getting ready now to see who runs against Jim Yates in the finals. What a year it has been for Alan Johnson. First, an amazing ride during the Gator Nationals at Gainesville back in March. Watch the far side of the track and hold your breath. An absolutely unbelievable ride for Alan Johnson, who basically walked away without significant injury. And then 3 events, 6 weeks later, he was the winner at Richmond, Virginia. Can he get to his second final of the year? Well, Tom Martino is the man who will try to deny him that opportunity. Martino in this car right here.
Tom Martino has quite a reputation as being what's called a lever, somebody that has really quick reaction times. He was a longtime sportsman racer, really honed his skills on the Christmas tree, and this time around, he'd better have them together, because in the previous round, Alan Johnson had a .401 reaction time. That's 1,000th of a second away from perfect. Nobody can fall asleep right now in this semifinal matchup.
Has done it again, and it was another terrific reaction time. Look at that, .413 off the line, and that was the advantage as he advances to the final round for the second time this year. Johnson, left-hand side of the screen with that perfect launch, and he needed every split second of it to get by Tom Martino.
Alan Johnson actually had a slower elapsed time than Tom Martino, but as you mentioned, Gary, the reaction time was the difference on this run.
So that sets up our Pro Stock final. It'll be Alan Johnson going up against Jim Yates. Yates has the lane choice, a 7:02 versus a 7:04.
Alan Johnson heading for his second final of 1999. Not lane choice, but at this point, probably not a concern.
Well, I think we made our best run in the right tonight, and we spun the tires so hard that run right there. I just waited for him to come around me. I mean, it was terrible.
He's a slow talker, but a quick driver.
with a heavy foot. Jim Epler's twin daughters, Megan and Mandy, helping their dad prepare for the funny car semifinals coming up next.
Hey, Bugman. Follow us. Come on.
Looks like I'm gonna fall for that old trick.
Not so good.
All 4 barricades, huh?
A full moon and approaching the hour of midnight at Gateway International Raceway. Gary Gerald along with Bill Stevens and Frank Hawley as we take a look now at Tony Pedregon getting ready to go up against Tommy Johnson Jr. in the semifinal round of funny car competition.
All right, now see if you can follow this now. Tommy Johnson Jr. ran 1 race this year in Top Fuel. That was in Joliet. Randy Anderson drove Joe Gibbs' funny car at that race. Now, Tommy is in this car. Randy Anderson just sold all of his funny car stuff to Cruz Pedregon, who raced the interstate car before Tommy Johnson Jr. And Cruz, if you're following me so far, is going to be in Bristol for the next race with his new team.
All I know is Johnson's on the left, Pedregon on the right. And Pedregon will advance. Problems off the line for Tommy Johnson Jr. and the Syntec crew once again going to a final round. On the replay on the far side of the screen, Johnson with the loss of traction going up in smoke, and that opened the door, and cruising through Tony Pedregon at 492. So his opponent will be either Jim Epler completing his burnouts or the dominant man in the division, John Force. A bit earlier, Frank visited with the man in command.
There's a lot of different ways to measure how good someone is at their job, and if you're a crew chief on a Nitro funny car team, I guess you could look at the number of wins you have. But I think another thing that's important is, have you had any slumps? And if so, how long have they been? And one of the guys that I think is best in this category with very few slumps, and when he had them, they were very short in duration, is my friend Austin Coyle. And Austin, what have you done that's different than maybe some of the other teams to have the consistent winning record that you had over the years?
Well, you know, we put an awful lot of effort into computer data. We have sensors on more things than probably any other car out here, and I've got some great help with Bernie Federley and John Medlin to go over that. We just believe if it's not based on science and physics, it didn't work that way, and it seems to help.
Keep in mind that Frank Hawley drove to a couple of championships with Austin Coyle back in the early 1980s in the famed Chi-Town Hustler. But right now, John Force, who's been hooked up with Coyle for the past 15 years, trying to advance to still another final. Oh, and problems for Force at the end of the run. He will advance, but the numbers take a real pounding. Nothing impressive there, and a lot of work for the crew to do. May have absolutely imploded a blower on this run. As you can see, Epler never got hold of the racetrack. And right there, you could see it let go for John Force in a huge explosion.
Man, Jim Epler almost ate your lunch. What happened?
He almost ate my lunch. What happened? I beat up my old Action Collectibles, what I did. The old heap went out there, and it shook real hard. I pedaled it, got back after it, and I saw sparks and flames flying. I pedaled it a third time. Then it blew up about 800 foot. And I had fire, but I didn't know where he was at, and I was still on the gas to the floor, and there ain't no motor. But I don't know what happened. Did he get there?
He didn't get there, and a 554 beat him.
Was he close?
Not even in the same zip code.
A true adventure for Force, but he advances to face his teammate, Tony Pedregon, who will have lane choice in the finals. Top Fuel coming up. Tony Schumacher getting ready with a handshake of sorts for Kenny Bernstein. Well, a long night turning longer for the crew of Tony Pedregon's team. Routine maintenance, however, in this instance. By the way, Frank Hawley is on his way to check out the problems in the John Force camp. While on the line, we watch burnouts for the Top Fuel semifinal pairing of Gary Selsey against Corey McClenathan. Now, Selsey comes to St. Louis 6th in points. He's still confident of a 3rd straight championship.
I still feel when I pull that Team Winston Top Fuel drags through that starting line, nobody can beat me. I feel so comfortable in the car now driving it. And I know that it's still fast because it does qualify well, and it is getting more consistent. I've got all the faith in the world and confident in my team. I'm not worried. I think we're going to be fine. I really honestly believe that. And so far, I haven't started to make any mistakes, and I'm not letting it get to me.
Coming back to a track where he prevailed a year ago in Top Fuel. Can he do it again?
Last year coming into this race, Gary, Mr. Selby had not won a race in 1998 and did go on to win the championship. And Corey Mack, yikes, what a year he has had. Engine explosion at Gainesville, stomach flu in Pomona, but he did win Richmond.
And the problems continue for McClenathan. Selzy will have a shot at defending his championship at Gateway with a 4:59 at nearly 317 miles per hour. Let's go to Frank.
I've said Austin Coyle, John Force's crew chief, is one of the best in the business, and right now he's going to have to earn his money, as is the rest of the team. Now, John won that semifinal round, but had a huge engine explosion. You can see the supercharger has completely exploded apart, and that happened partway down the racetrack. It's hurt the injector, a lot of the fuel lines. Now, John's team has a lot of spare parts in this trailer, but there's a tremendous amount of work that has to be done. And if they are able to get the rest of those parts put back together and get this car ready for the final round, it'll be absolutely amazing. That final round where he's going to face his teammate, Tony Pedregon.
That qualifies as a major league thrash. Now, who will advance to the final round to go up against Gary Selzy? Will it be Kenny Bernstein or Tony Schumacher? We are about to find out. We want to remind you, coming up next on ABC Sports, more coverage from San Francisco in the 5th Summer X Games. We've got big air snowboarding, inline skating on the vert for women, and of course later today, more on ESPN2.
Shot of the onboard camera, the Kenny Bernstein Bud King team getting him ready to go against the kid looking for his first national event win. Tony Schumacher had low ET of eliminations in the second round when he went 4:57, so we know what that Excite battery car can do. As you see there, he has not gone to a winner's circle yet, but this weekend could definitely change that.
Bernstein in trouble, a pedaling contest, and Tony Schumacher wins the battle and will advance to the final rounds against Gary Selzy. Time and numbers of no consequence, just the fact that he was able to advance is the key. Let's watch the woes of both men who lost traction immediately. On and off the throttle. Look at the flames bellowing out both sides of those power plants. And in the end, it was Schumacher who prevailed.
Take a look at what happened on board the Bud King. Remember, Kenny's got that bad shoulder. Every time he, boom, stabs the throttle, boom, he's going back into the seat. Those shoulder harnesses digging into that bad shoulder, and he really wanted to win that round.
So our final pairing has Gary Selzy with lane choice against Tony Schumacher. The thrash continues in the John Force pit. Can this crew give him a machine at the line for the finals?
The NHRA Sears Craftsman Nationals on ABC Sports. Brought to you by Fram Extra Guard, the only filter with the rough textured sure grip top. It makes changing your filter a lot easier. Brewery Fresh Budweiser, the official beer of the National Hot Rod Association. This Bud's for you. The motor oil that provides maximum protection. Castrol GTX. Drive hard. And Craftsman, a line of 1,800 hand tools made in America, guaranteed forever, only at Sears.
Well, the look on John Force's face tells you that the crew, in fact, has got that car together. They're at the line. Force is ready to go. But first, we've got a pro stock final to take care of. Alan Johnson looking for his second victory of the year in this machine, ready to go up against Jim Yates, who hasn't won in a year and a half.
Jim Yates has really done quite a job this weekend. That is a brand new race car. Pro stock automobiles, very adjustable, very tough to get them dialed in. And here he is in a final round with a fresh automobile.
And in a nail-biter, Jim Yates found his way back to victory lane at last. Well, pro stock drag racing doesn't come any closer than this. The reaction advantage, only 1/100th of a second for Yates against Johnson. The margin of victory ends up being 0.02 of a second. And look how close that translates on the track.
Well, I'll tell you, you made up for lost time. Not only did you win, you won in a whole shot. A 7:01 with an 8, beating a 7:01 flat, and man, it's been a long time since we've been together like this.
I tell you, I got to thank all my sponsors, Split Fire, Pontiac, Dynamax. I mean, they've all been great with me, but the number one people I got to thank are my family. I mean, they've been with me the last year and a half. It's been a tough year for Jim Yates, and my kids, my wife have stuck with me, and I love them to death, and thank God I've got them. That's all I can say. Thank God.
So by virtue of his first victory since the Pomona Winter Nationals of 1998, Jim Yates has advanced one spot. He's now third in the Pro Stock Points standings.
Inspired me, dude.
Inspiration from Alan Johnson. Jim Yates celebrates. Now, John Force and his hard-working crew. They put this machine back together. Austin Coyle points into the right spot. Tony Pedregon, Force's teammate, pulls alongside for the early staging. It is the finals in funny car. And Pedregon, who twice this year has found victory, will not find victory again. It's John Force for the 7th time of 1999, extending his dominance in funny car competition. Up in smoke goes Pedregon. Power to the ground for John Force, and what a job his crew did getting him race ready, and they've been rewarded with still another victory. That 494 for Force, his best elapsed time in the competition.
Well, I guess that's why there are 2 car teams.
Yeah, it really, you learn a lot from each other. We damaged the car on the last run and just struggled just to make the call. And just really surprised that Tony smoked the tires. He had the good lane. We took the other lane, put a new blower and everything. We just didn't think it'd make it. Cole said if it gets away with it, it'll haul butt, and it did.
Well, we're not far from the gambling boats on the Mississippi River. John Force just won 7 out of 11.
And for the 77th time in his amazing career, John Force is a funny car winner once again. Ready now for our Top Fuel final. Tony Schumacher, the upstart, going against Gary Scelzi, the 2-time defending series champion and the man who won here at Gateway 1 year ago.
The X-Dog team was born at the U.S. Nationals last year, and they would love to win their first national event. It could happen right here.
But it won't happen this time. Scelzi has done it again, and look at the numbers. 460 at 312 miles per hour, and Scelzi has gained some valuable ground in the championship points chase. Just as we saw in the funny car final, loss of traction, the problem off the line for Tony Schumacher, and his dreams of getting the victory here in the Craftsman Nationals have evaporated. Let's hear from Scelzi.
Well, it was last year at this race you began your championship run. Are we getting a variation on that theme this time around?
I'll tell you what, I'm so excited to be with NHRA and Winston Drag Racing. It's the best motorsports in the business. And my guys, I mean, it's 2 in the morning or 2:15 or whatever it is. They work so hard. We changed 5 motors or 6 motors this weekend. They worked their tails off. They didn't miss a beat. I mean, Team Winston is just incredible. I'm speechless. It's pretty emotional for me now because this Winston Championship's really, it's something. Matco Tools, NGK Spark Plugs, Martin Senior Paint, Napa Auto Parts. I love you all. Mom, I'll be home tomorrow. This is awesome.
Gary Scelzi has good reason to be happy. 91 points now behind front-running Mike Dunn in 4th place. Well, the patience of the fans here at Gateway International has certainly been rewarded for a long, spectacular night of drag racing. We congratulate Jim Yates, John Force, and Gary Scelzi. For Frank Hawley and Bill Stevens, I'm Gary Gerald, thanking you for joining us for the Sears Craftsman Nationals. ABC Sports is online at ESPN.com, part of the Go Network. Now let's go back to our studios in New York.